that have inflicted profound grief, suffering and loss on these our fellow Australians. We apologise, especially for the removal of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children from their families, their communities and their country. For the pain, suffering and hurt of these stolen generations, their descendants and for their families left behind, we say sorry. To the mothers and the fathers, the brothers and the sisters, for the breaking up of families and communities, we say sorry. And for the indignity and degradation thus inflicted on a proud people and a proud culture, we say sorry. Parliament of Australia respectfully request that this apology be received in the spirit in which it is offered, as part of the healing of the nation. For the future, we take heart, resolving that this new page in the history of our great continent can now be written, and laying claim to a future that embraces all Australians. A future where this Parliament resolves that the injustices of the past must never happen again. A future where we harness the determination of all Australians, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, to close the gap that lies between us and life expectancy, educational achievement and economic opportunity. A future where we embrace the possibility of new solutions to enduring problems where old approaches have failed. A future based on mutual respect, mutual resolve and mutual responsibility. A future where all Australians, whatever their origins, are truly equal partners with equal opportunities and with an equal stake in shaping the next chapter in the history. There comes a time in the history of nations when their peoples must become fully reconciled to their past if they are to go forward with confidence to embrace their future. Our nation, Australia, has reached such a time, and that is why the Parliament is today here assembled, to deal with this unfinished business of the nation, to remove a great stain from the nation's soul, and in a true spirit of reconciliation, to open a new chapter in the history of this great land, Australia. Mr. Speaker, last year I made a commitment to the Australian people that if we form the next government of the Commonwealth, we would in Parliament say sorry to the stolen generation. I honour that commitment by doing so at the commencement of this, the 42nd Parliament of the Commonwealth. Because the time has come, well and truly come, for all Australians to come together, to reconcile, and together build a new future for our nation. Some have asked, why apologise? Let me begin to answer by telling the Parliament just a little of one person's story. Nana Nungalo Fijo, as she prefers to be called, was born in the late 1920s. She remembers her earliest childhood days, living with her family and her community in a bush camp just outside Tennant Creek. When she was about 4, she remembers the coming of the welfare men. They brought a truck, they brought 2 white men and an Aboriginal stockman on horseback, cracking his stock whip. The kids were found. They were herded and piled onto the back of the truck. Her mum tried clinging to the sides of the truck as her children were taken away. The kids were simply told to line up in 3 lines. Those on the left were told that they had become Catholics. Those in the middle, Methodists, and those on the right, Church of England. She and her sister were sent to a Methodist mission on Goulburn Island and then Croker Island. Her Catholic brother was sent to work at a cattle station, her cousin to a Catholic mission. She stayed at the mission until after the war, when she was allowed to leave for a pre-arranged job as a domestic in Darwin. She was 16. Nana Fijo never saw her mum again. Nanafijo's is just one story. There are thousands, tens of thousands of them. These stories cry out to be heard. They cry out for an apology. Mr. Speaker, decency, human decency, universal human decency, demands that the nation now steps forward to right an historical wrong. It is for these reasons, Mr. Speaker, that the governments and parliaments of this nation must make this apology. Because, put simply, the laws that our parliaments enacted made the stolen generations possible. This is not, as some would argue, a black armband view of history. It's just the truth. And until we fully confront that truth, there will always be a shadow hanging over us of our future as a fully united and fully reconciled people. To the stolen generations, I say the following. As Prime Minister of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Government of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Parliament of Australia, I am sorry. And I offer you this apology without qualification. We apologise for the hurt, the pain and suffering we, the Parliament, have caused you by the laws that previous Parliaments have enacted. I say to non-Indigenous Australians listening today is to imagine for a moment if this had happened to you. Imagine how hard it would be to forgive. We can today resolve together that there be a new beginning for Australia.